Welcome everyone to this utopian conversation, joined with a reenactment of an absurdist piece of theater that actually happened. So it's a piece about, a reenactment piece about Elon Musk's Utopia. With us are Aviv, who is a long-term friend of re-publica, Geraldine Bastion, who is also a long-term friend of re-publica, Fernanda Parente, who is also a long-term friend of re-publica, and Marx, who is a podcast host and a tech critic and author. And we also have Yanai Sened with us and Katharina Dermühl, so I give it up for Uri.
All right, fantastic. Danke, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You didn't hear that, but we were all called on stage. So this is Geraldine or Elon. Center stage, please. Yanai Sened is over there. Paris, on the black chair, please. Can no one hear me? Who can hear me? I'm sorry. I can hear me too. Fernanda Parente, Katharina Dermühl. Yes. My name is Aviv. I'm very impressed by the lineup we have for this weird, bizarre experiment. And I'm very happy with it. Where did I put the clicker? Or there it is. So on stage we have expertise in multitudes of fields, from digital transformation to journalism to curation to marketing to philosophy to social studies to science fiction, literature, art, game design, film, and many VR or XR, and many other dimensions, and they'll all be applicable to what we're going to do today. Again, my name is Uri. I'm an arts producer. I'm a creative consultant. What am I? I'm an essayist and speaker. I work at the intersections of film and media arts, tech and science. And I do this professionally for a long time now. I do this as a freelance, and I do this also as part of a non-profit I co-founded and manage called Utopia, which is that. And we've done lots of work with re-publica having to do with reimagining the future, taking the future back, retaking science fiction, along with many of the people and women that are on stage today. Geraldine, Katharina, and Fernanda are longtime friends and colleagues and participants in these events. And Yanai has been contributing to Utopia for a long time. And Paris will be a continuing member to this wonderful team. What we're going to do, I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction, so we'll be on the same page on what's going to happen, and we'll have kind of we'll be on the same page on the information-wise. I'll start as one does traditionally with a meme. I hope many of you have seen this meme in the past 2 or 3 years. Sci-fi author, in my book, I invented the torment nexus as a cautionary tale. Tech company, at long last, we have created the torment nexus from classic sci-fi novel, Don't Create the Torment Nexus. So, similarly, with my background, both in tech and in science fiction, I've read and heard the following statement in many tech demos and presentations, and now it's no longer science fiction. And I've come to despise it. I don't want to completely undervalue or disavow all the wonderful inspiration science, technology, design, engineering has gotten from science fiction. Some of it is marvelous. But if this is part of your presentation, chances are you've not finished the book, or maybe had not seen the film to the end. Case in point, the Her debacle of just the past week and a half. I don't know if, I assume many of you know Sam Altman tweeting Her after the release of ChatGPT 4.40 with the sound of Sky, not Samantha from the movie Her, but sounding very similarly and eerily like Samantha from the movie Her. And one of the main critiques he got is, have you watched the film to the end? Because it's not, I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful film. It's a wonderful sci-fi film. It's a wonderful dramatic comedy, romantic drama comedy, but it doesn't end well, as good stories do. I can't pinpoint if and when it happened, but maybe it was always in the ecosystem, but I have a feeling that there's been a noticeable surge in the co-option and corruption of science fiction by Silicon Valley venture capitalists. In an attempt to sell us on grand designs and futuristic visions, their utopias of the future, they utilize science fiction narratives, stories, aesthetics, and for good reason, because they catch the imagination. And when they do, and when they use those, they generate interest, they generate headlines, and they generate investment. But of those of us who know, who are in the know, we know. We know and see the misuse, the abuse, the crude and ill-fitting metaphors, and they expose vanity, they expose sometimes ignorance, and every now and again, they expose some dark truths. And that's one piece I'd like us to have in our minds when we get to the theatrical presentation we do. So, good science fiction offers remarkable philosophical debate, radical exploration of what it means to be human. Science fiction visions are embedded in our culture. They signify our current hopes and fears, anxieties and aspirations about the future, better than any startup pitch deck can do. And they should really read the book to the end. That's one thing I wanted to have clear. So, who's this Musk fella? I want us to be on even terms on this. So, and I assume we have somewhat of a literate audience. So, raise of hands. Who thinks he knows, or who thinks they know, apologies, how many kids under the age of 10 Musk is currently taking care of? Raise of hands. Who knows? Not in the panel. You do. You think you do. Shout out a number. 0? 0? So the number is 4, just to be clear. He's taking care of 4 toddlers. How many companies Musk runs on a daily basis, being majority shareholder, owner, founder, president, and CEO? 4? You're saying 1? 1. Well, it depends on what managing means. So 6. Let's list them together. Tesla, SpaceX, X, formerly known as Twitter, The Boring Company, Neuralink, and XAI, his AI company. Obviously. All right. So, when talking about Musk having become such a household name, it's not about how you present, it's not about what you present, it's how you present him. It's a matter of curation. So I decided to start with a quote I love from Musk. I care a lot about the truth of things and trying to understand the truth of things. I think that's important. If you're going to come up with some solution, then the truth is really, really important. Okay, so who's this Musk guy? He's come a long way from his childhood and birthplace of Pretoria, South Africa in 1971. So he's 52, he will be 53 in a month's time. He's become a global tycoon, a cultural phenomenon, and a thought leader. If that means thought leader, I don't know. He's potentially the richest man in the world with public money, or with publicly declared funds, depending on the value of the Tesla stock at any given day. He's a marketing savant and a well-preserved 80s sci-fi and video games geek. Just to remind us all, there's a Tesla Roadster somewhere out in the solar system with a sticker that says "Don't panic," with Asimov's foundation in the glove compartment, and with a David Bowie disc playing on the CD. And yes, he's also a father of 10, of which 4 are toddlers. These are not the toddlers. These are his 4 more elder children on a visit to Rome. But let's also remind us all that he's also the person who decides if Ukraine can attack Russian forces in Crimea. He's the guy in charge of that. And just as this is a post from 2.5 years ago, from the 3rd day of the war in Ukraine. This is the Undersecretary for Digital Transformation, if I'm not mistaken, in Ukraine, asking Musk for Starlink service on Twitter, and Musk replying that it's on its way. And just because we're in Berlin, I would be remiss if I would not also include the fact that he was turned away from Berghain and whined about it on Twitter. Okay. So, starting in the mid-2000s, after the dot-com boom, which made him a millionaire, he developed a larger-than-life persona, a billionaire playboy who's trying to save the world. Musk inspired the 2008 adaptation of Iron Man. Director Jon Favreau and actor Robert Downey Jr. modeled Tony Stark, the billionaire, arms dealer, engineer, philanthropist playboy, on Elon Musk. And he actually made a cameo on Iron Man 2 as himself. And this is him in an earlier stage of development. That's also when he started to operate in science fiction terminology. His earlier ventures, which got him to be a millionaire, were city guides and online banking, which are not that aspirational when you want to save the world. So he made way from those to saving humanity. Musk wants us to be a spacefaring, multi-planetary species with SpaceX. He supposedly wants to avert climate catastrophe with Tesla, and he would want to make sure that we win the eventual war with AI by funding OpenAI. He was one of the original funders for OpenAI. Over time, contradictions emerge. And let's focus on his dual practice with AI. So he would be outspoken about the existential risks about AGI, artificial general intelligence, the Terminator/Skynet version that will exterminate all humans, while presenting Tesla as the biggest robotics company in the world and aspiring to remain as such. He will talk your ear off about the dangers of AI, but will also be the major source of funding for OpenAI. he will sign an open letter for a 6 months moratorium on any AI development, at the same time founding his own AI company. So what to make of this? Maybe we'll get into a little bit of that. But just to be clear, his approach to this has some complexity. Let's call it complexity. Hey. And this is where we get to Neuralink. So Neuralink was founded by Musk with co-founders in 2016. It is a neurotech company in the BCI field, brain-computer interface. Neuralink develops, where is it? It develops implants for a direct brain-computer interface. That's it. An instrument that's implanted in your head, in the brain, and allows direct interface to a computer. It currently is estimated to be worth $5 billion. Now, it might sound like science fiction, and that's part of why I'm making this point. But let's remember, we have pacemakers, we have many, many other medical devices that are implanted in the human body, in the human brain, to aid with hearing, to aid with sight. So we have that. We also have BCI technology for quite a few decades. There are research institutes and other commercial ventures all around the world working on this. But Musk's venture is very well publicized, possibly because of its very public persona and his science fiction futuristic ideation. And Neuralink's vision, though, isn't just to aid and to amend. It's not. It goes far beyond just treating injury. It's meant for all of us. As we see, we're all flawed. We're flawed because we're human. And Neuralink is the fix, is the remedy. Musk wants to replace the iPhone with an implant in your brain, in our brains. If robots represent a dichotomy of man-machine, technology, biology, natural and artificial, Neuralink devices raise the ambiguities of that dichotomy. Neuralink is the way to integrate, to merge man and machine, achieve oneness with oneself, with one another, and with the coming AGI, with the coming grand artificial intelligence that will hopefully not destroy us because we're merged with it. So I've gone from lamenting the misuse of science fiction to a little bit of Musk bashing, which is a hobby I need to stop allowing myself. And I've gotten a bit philosophical, spiritual, maybe even a little bit religious. All of these topics, I hope, will come to mind as we come to our crescendo, which is this wonderful event that exemplifies all of what I've just spoken about. And this is it. We're recreating in a smaller fashion this. What is that? In August of 2020, in the early days of COVID, Neuralink's senior team gathered for a public presentation event, the stated purpose of which was recruitment. Musk started off with presenting the technology, the achievements, the challenges. There were two pigs, one that were presented, you can see them behind in their pounds. One had an implant. One had an implant that was removed in order for the audience to see that it is removable. With the first part ended, he invited 13 people on stage, supposedly the top tier of the company, to answer questions from Twitter. Towards the end, the team got one single question. What is the Neuralink? What is your Neuralink vision of the future? I saw this live. I was blown away. I had to. It's on YouTube. You're all welcome to see it. I decided to transcribe it, although it's not necessary. It's transcribed. I also adapted it to Hebrew, but the answers were beautiful, as they were frightening and absurd and bizarre and utopian and dystopian and naive. And we're going to hear some of them, or all of them actually, because instead of talking about this event or showing you the event, we're going to reenact the event. So with a few caveats, yes, there were 13 people on stage. We don't have budget for that. But we have 5 amazing, wonderful people who all play 3 roles aside of Geraldine Bastion, who will be playing Elon Musk. She has quite a few lines. And we'll discuss a little bit our thoughts and insights about what's going to happen. I assume this might matter to some of us. Of the 13 people, of the 14 people along with Musk, 2 were women. I don't know how many people of color were there because it's COVID, but I think 1. So we've not kept the gender, I don't know, balance. And if we have time, I also have Where Are They Now segment. But what I'll do is I'll play the moderator, both in play, but I'll also give you a few outplay words, because none of the people on stage were properly presented. With that, let's get to the artistic portion of our event. Yes, of course, I have one, and maybe we'll switch. That's going to be better.
What do you mean? Okay. Short, the cable's too short. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This should be okay, yeah.
I need a volunteer. I need 1 volunteer. Who wants to be an... Yeah? So just come over here. Or come to the side.
Which one? Elon Musk connoisseur. I just put your bottle down here, so.
And this is your line. You're Zach. Action. Okay. As a closing question, I thought we might go down the line, starting with Dan. And I'm wondering, what is the #1 thing on your wish list that you're really hoping that the Neuralink device will do over time, that you're working towards? Our first answer is from Dan. We've looked and have no idea who is Dan or what he does at Neuralink. Dan, from senior management.
Obviously. So my background is in visual neuroscience. And one of the things I think has great potential for the Neuralink is to provide a visual prosthesis for people who have retinal injury or blindness through injury. You can essentially plug a camera directly into the visual cortex and stimulate with one enormous array of 1,000 or maybe tens of thousands of electrodes to recreate a visual image. And in time, perhaps, you can use that same technology in people who haven't lost vision to produce some kind of heads-up display, something like Terminator or something like that.
Wonderful.
In fact, we're saying that, like, over time, we could actually give somebody supervision. Like, you could have ultraviolet or infrared, see in radar, basically name your frequency. You can just dynamically adjust the sensor and have a set of sensors that all feed into the visual cortex of a wide range of frequencies and actually have superhuman vision.
Thank you, Elon. Next is Dongjin Sao, DJ for short. He's co-founder of Neuralink, VP Engineering with a PhD from Berkeley. DJ.
Yeah, so for me, telepathy. So I think it's an incredible amount of effort to put your thoughts into a set of words, and it comes out completely compressed. So being able to do that seamlessly without being able to compress it with all the mechanisms, that would be great.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry to have to add further to that. But in fact, when I did the Wait But Why article, I think Tim thought I said consensual telepathy. But I said conceptual telepathy. I mean, presumably it would be consensual, because you definitely don't want people just, sending stuff into your brain without consent. But a lot of our brain capacity goes into compressing our thoughts and our words. And then you think like the data rate of words. Words are very slow, like very low data rate. And reporting a tremendous amount of mental energy into compressing the concepts and thoughts in our head and our words and then slowly talking. Like speech is very, very slow. And we could actually send the true thoughts. We can obviously have far better communication because we convey actual concepts, the actual thoughts, uncompressed to someone else.
So, non-linguistic, consensual, and conceptual telepathy.
Yeah, exactly. Non-linguistic, conceptual telepathy.
Next is Ian O'Hara. He's VP of Robotics.
I've actually been excited from the beginning, sort of, about the side benefit of these devices. I sort of see them as essentially like an oscilloscope to a printed circuit board is our device to the brain, where just by the virtue of having us in there and being able to see what's actually going on, you will end up learning a ton about how the brain works. And so sort of augmenting people, but also just using that to learn a lot more about neurological diseases is really exciting to me.
Absolutely. We've arrived at Paul Marola. He's another co-founder here at Neuralink. Paul?
So to sort of follow up on Elon's thoughts, I feel, and I imagine a lot of other people feel the same way, that there's a lot of trapped creativity in the mind. You can, for example, close your eyes and conjure up incredible, like Dali-esque scene. But if I wanted to actually show someone that it would take years of honing a craft to be able to paint that. And so, potentially with enough electrodes in the right places, you could begin to sort of tap into those raw concepts or thought vectors or be able to decode that and show people. It could be for art. You mentioned music, or even like engineering, a three-dimensional model.
So mental artistry is a new field. The next speaker wasn't even presented. We don't know his name. Team member?
I like to think about ways to interface devices with biology better. And so one of the things I'm looking forward to is getting this thing to look less like technology and more like biology, so that it really is, seamlessly interfaced with the brain, stable for a very long time. And then similar to that, having stimulation be much more precise and multidimensional, such that eventually the brain sort of doesn't really know if it's being stimulated from outside or inside, and you end up just sort of completely merging.
Wonderful. Next up is Joey O'Doherty. He's a neuroscientist and neuroengineer and runs the brain-machine interface work at Neuralink. Joey.
Following up on stimulation, one of the things our device can do is simultaneously read and write on every channel, stimulate and record. And that's, both a more challenging problem than it might seem like at first, but also, incredibly exciting. The sort of vistas that it opens up is really kind of the whole game in terms of interfacing with the nervous system. and I'm very excited to use that.
Our next speaker is Robin Young. She's a mechanical engineer and runs the mechanics and assembly work for the implant at Neuralink. I'll also note she's a woman. Robin.
Yeah, I'm excited just because of the scalability of the device. We are doing everything in-house, and all of it can scale to more channels, more brain regions, etc. I think, yeah, I'm really interested about solving things related to anxiety or depression, or even like removing fear. Like, I'm an athlete, rock climbing without fear would be...
Maybe a little bit of fear.
Yeah, just a little. And also, it would be great if we could make the pigs fly.
Next is Matthew McDougall, head neurosurgeon at Neuralink.
I think we have an incredible opportunity to limit human suffering to a tiny fraction of what it is today in all kinds of different avenues. Pain being the essence of suffering. We might be able to control that, finally. And so many other diseases, so much other suffering in the world, I think the Neuralink device could help a lot with.
I think all of these things are great functions for Neuralink. On a species level basis, I think it would be important for us to figure out how we coexist with advanced artificial intelligence. And you know, I think achieving some kind of AI symbiosis where you have an AI extension of yourself, like a tertiary layer above the limbic system and cortex, and having that symbiosis be good so that the future of the world is controlled by the combined will of the people on Earth. I think that's obviously going to be the future we want, presumably, if it's the sum of our collective will. So I think it's good to be important from an existential threat kind of standpoint to achieve good AI symbiosis. And I think it might be the most important thing that a device like this can achieve.
Wonderful. Next up is Max Hodak. He's another co-founder and the CEO of Neuralink. Max.
I think that a good benchmark of does it work well in humans is, can a quadriplegic, does it work well enough for them to play StarCraft? That's a good functional target.
Yeah, sure, for sure.
I have, in many ways, a very basic science interest, which is I'm really interested in the nature of consciousness. There's a lot of very silly philosophy that's been written about it over the last 1,000 years. But I think that it's really, we've been very limited by the tools and our ability to interrogate and measure the brain. And as these tools get better, it will pull it into the realm of physics. And it's really one of the last big mysteries in science.
Wonderful. Felix Deku is our next speaker, Director of Microfabrication.
So for me, can you imagine a disease-free future? A future where you know what's going to happen to you before it happens so you can prevent it. With these devices, we will be able not just pick up electrical signals, you can also pick up chemical clues in your brain. And if you're successful, which I know we are, we'll...
It
says awkward side eye at Musk. That was my interpretation of that. We'll be able to kind of prevent ahead of time, you know, diseases. And really, the functions of these devices are widespread. So I'm looking forward to the future.
Zach. Zach is up. He works on Felix's microfabrication team.
I'm really excited about the opportunities to help people overcome challenges they face through life circumstances, bad luck, through no fault of their own, spinal cords injury, brain disease, some devastating things that completely changes your life. Hopefully, we can help them get some function back.
Thank you. We've arrived at Autumn Sorrells. Yeah. We've arrived at Autumn Sorrells, Animal Care Program Director at Neuralink. Another woman.
Amazing. I'm Autumn, and I lead our animal care program. And our philosophy here is to set up a system where the animals are able to volunteer to make choices to participate in our projects. As you see, sometimes they choose not to participate, and that's okay. We want to make sure that our animals are happy and healthy. So all of the behavioral research that we do is led by positive reinforcement. And again, that allows for them to choose to volunteer or not. And I know and love many humans with autism spectrum disorder, so I'm really interested to see how the Neuralink might be able to support them if they choose to do that.
Last but not least, Sam. Sam is a veterinarian who works with Autumn on animal care.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone else along the line has had, you know, amazing ideas and suggestions. For me, it's about memories, and everyone loses memories over time. You know, I already can't remember what happened to me when I was younger, and, you know, it will only get worse. And so having a repository of memories that you can access whenever you want. If you're feeling down, you can go access some good memories, you know. If you miss something or miss somebody, you can go and access those memories. And I think that would just be such a life-changing experience to be able to just tap into that.
That was such a beautiful and diverse array of answers here. Thank you so much. Elon?
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in. And as I said, please consider working at Neuralink and helping us solve these problems. There's a tremendous amount of work to be done to go from here to a device that is available, widely available, and affordable and reliable. So please consider joining us and supporting our mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who wants to go first?
So many dead monkeys.
They all volunteered, though,
Well,
so it's okay.
One living human. One living human. One living human.
With a detached device.
Yes. As of January 2024, they've received FDA clearance for human testing back in May, a year ago, and you can watch him being interviewed this past week on a lot of media outlets. But let's go around. Maybe you have some comments, insights.
Do I have to start?
Don't throw.
No pressure.
No, I didn't. Obviously, I've thrown into this, but I've never heard such nonsense in my life. I mean, like, I just can't believe what I was reading, and I'm listening and going, "This is just. What does this even really mean?" Like, it just seems so
I would
ridiculous.
Just claim this is wonderful science fiction, and on the one hand, and secondly, and I'm going to shut up and let the smart people talk. I don't think any of us are. I think we're all Luddites in the original sense of the word, but not in the current state of the word. By which I mean, and I'll talk for myself. Yes, we would wish for these technologies to help people. I'm sure I can attest for myself. I'm not going to tell about anyone. I don't know about the personal situation of anyone else here, but you know, I have a friend who's had a spinal cord injury and is, and my mom has got dementia. So we're all looking for solutions or for remedies, but. Yes, please. Something maybe from the philosophy PhD about the 1,000 years of silly philosophy?
Yeah, how do you read this as a philosopher? So there's some philosophy on the principle of charity, right? So let's think like as a charitable interpretation of like what's happening here. Like, I'm trying to read this and think like, what do they think that they are doing? And from some tech experience, it sounds like the way they answer things, it sounds like they're blue skying. Blue skying is something that you do in a tech company where you're kind of imagining like years into the future, if your product is like super successful, what are all the things that you might be able to do? No restrictions, no ideas are bad, let's put it up on a board and kind of imagine. Now, even for a session like this is kind of out there. This is like a lot of functionality, a lot of pressure to put. Now, famously, blue skying, you don't do like publicly and stream it. right? That's not like the right environment for that, because another principle in tech is that you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, which is what this thing will tend to do. So I don't know like how much consent was there like going into this. Like, did these people know that this was going to happen? But it really sounds that they're trying to imagine a future that's very far away, and you can kind of see how they get there. A lot of these things are things that like people actually work on developing. You say like spinal cord injury, and like people definitely work in like med tech on solving these issues. But then when you blue sky, what you do is you take every one of these ideas and you think like, what if it was hyper successful and we did it? And I think it just sounds ridiculous because like that's not a thing that you do publicly.
Can I just ask quickly? 'Cause I think that's such a good point you made, and I feel like over-promising and under-delivering kind of seems to be the way that Elon likes to roll with all the ventures. I don't know, like 4 at least out of the many ventures that you listed out earlier. And one does wonder, like, where do people take the audacity from to think that's okay, especially in such sensitive areas that deal with people's health and their lives and their hopes for the future, as you were just explaining. And whether it's just being so filthy rich, or whether it's being, you know, in these, which goes hand in hand, obviously, these positions of power that you kind of feel you don't need to filter anymore speaking to the world, just the way that he does on Twitter. And how, you know, for all of us, this is completely unhinged the way it comes across. But you don't feel like there's any reflection about that happening on the other side, really, right?
I would want to add some gossip to what you just said, because whenever I speak about Musk, I often start with saying he has 10 kids. He's a real person in this world. And I don't know what's going on inside that brain. I just hope he goes to therapy, I don't know what. It's not going to do any harm. He's already addicted to ketamine. But just to add a piece of gossip, his 2 latest toddlers that are now 1.5, I think, are twins he had with a Neuralink employee. Yes. He... Katharina. Or Fernanda, sorry.
It's okay. Yeah? Okay. I just wanted to pick up on one aspect you mentioned is, you know, reading it out, it seems like some of the answers came quite spontaneously because they were like around and the sentences don't even make sense. But so we don't know how, if people actually knew what they were going to present on stage, or they were like, oh shit, now I have to make something up. But even if it was something spontaneous, I mean, some people came up with something really crazy right away, sorry, pointing your direction, whereas I also had some, you know, ideas in the fields of med tech, and then also saying like, yeah, we can, you know, heal people who actually be sick, which most people probably agree upon. That's a good thing, like a cochlear implant helping people with hair loss. Hair loss. Hearing loss, not hair loss. But then borderlining over to, but maybe we can also, you know, help people who actually haven't lost eyesight, but we could, you know, basically enhance them. So it's borderlining towards a certain vision that it's a desirable thing to be better than what human nature made us to be. And then then it's interesting, what are the worldviews behind, you know, those people? Then we come to values, and then we come to narratives. And I just want to quote Elon when he says, I think that that's obviously going to be the future that we want, presumably, if it's the sum of our collective will. So there's like an if there, but there's also I assume this is what everyone wants. So suggesting this is something we want to agree upon as humankind, but maybe probably not being aware that he's putting this idea into people's head who are like not that informed and don't even know where like these ideas are coming from and what their values based on. Elon.
It's also it's a mathematical geeky thing to think that people's wills are vectors, and if you if you get a median or average for all the vectors, that's what everybody wants.
I mean, I'm just going to pass this back down to you, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who did not sign up to this vision of singularity being the collective future we all want.
Oh, is that not the democracy you want? Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something because I think it kind of taps back into what you're saying as well. In relation to like there's this, idea of a collective will or vision, but it's this. I think for me, it's a very clear example of how to kind of develop a product, and this is not only like in the tech world in general, without including different. Different people and different parts of society because
Hey,
they're
the
talking.
pigs volunteered.
Yeah, of course, the pigs volunteered. But you know what I mean? Like they're talking about, like, I don't know, curing diseases or helping people who have specific conditions. But none of these people here are those people. And the way they speak about it is very clear that they didn't consult with anyone or, didn't include maybe people who have different experiences, and then it's a very clear kind of like example and symptom of the tech industry in general. Not like
What was it? There was an exchange between Max and Elon about. I think that a good benchmark of does it work well in a human is kind of quadriplegic. Does it work well enough for them to play StarCraft? It's a good functional target for us. Yes. Sorry.
So
Hey,
defining goals for others.
playing StarCraft is fun, so yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
The first thing, well, they picked, or the first person who had the implant. I have his name. I apologize for not remembering. He's a gamer, and he played a lot of. In the past month, he played a lot of video games, and I don't blame him. And you should have as much fun as he can with this device.
Totally, games
Go.
are fun. But I can't believe I haven't seen this. Like,
You've written quite a lot, or
yeah,
yeah.
I've written a lot on Elon Musk over the years, and I'm kind of shocked I haven't seen this presentation before. I guess it was like, it was like August 2020, pandemic stuff was happening. I guess I was a bit distracted. I was shocked at the idea that the animals are going to volunteer. Like, we've discussed this, and reading that now in 2024, not in 2020, when we've had these stories about the number of animals who've been abused and died in these experiments, and just how they're talking about this in 2020. But the other thing as well is, I think Elon Musk has this kind of tendency to think about everything as though it is a computer. Like, everything works like a computer, and that is the way that he sees the world. And I think that you see that really clearly. Where is it? Where he's talking about how in the process of speaking, we actually have to compress all of this information that is going on in our heads to make it understandable to other people. And it's so incredibly inefficient. If we could just all have these little pucks in our heads and transfer our thoughts between one another, oh my God, that would be so much better, right?
And I'll be able to tell my trans daughter that I love her without telling her that. She'll be no.
But not by actually using her correct pronouns, because I don't agree with that. Yeah.
Or please, and
So I started with charity.
Yanai, next to you. No, go ahead.
I started with charity, and I think the charitable interpretation of these people is that they are kind of idiots. That's kind of like the nice way to look at it. But I think that. I think it is, because I think
they're not idiots.
The critical way of well, you can have idiots with PG. I should know. No. I think the critical way of looking at it is like, why is this something done by one of the most powerful people in the world? And I think the reason is that they're eating our future. They're eating it and turning it into like fuel, basically. And the way they do it is, so all of these things are technologies under development. And what companies like Neuralink do is they offer like a ridiculous amount of money to people who are already working on stuff like that to go work for their kind of dream machine. Now, again, why would you overpromise and underdeliver? It's because the promise is the thing that you're selling. You want to get a lot of investment in, and who knows what's going to happen in the end. You already have the money, or you can already like build a big company.
We'll pivot.
Probably. So what happens is you take a lot of like really talented people who are right now like making the solutions that they're talking about. You eat that all up. You destroy their careers often for this kind of passion project. Now maybe something will be able to be salvaged out of that. That's the good result. But I think that's, you said in the beginning, the kind of way that science fiction gets used, and the way that it gets used here is to foreclose futures. So what you say is, instead of having researchers in a lab where they are motivated to do experiments with what is currently possible, what is currently plausible, what will push the frontiers of science, what you have is this kind of imaginarium, and then you put them in a lab to create more and more hype, because the thing you're looking for is not making quadriplegic people play StarCraft or, God forbid, like lift a bottle, which is like huge. Lifting a bottle is really hard with these machines because you need a robotic arm that can like handle a bottle. It's not to do that, but it's to generate more and more hype for investors.
It's doing base science, but doing it as a startup in a commercial venture for profit. So there's the miscorrelation between the two things.
Yeah, we also have a word for what that is, you know, when you make promises about what your company is going to do to investors and then not follow through on those. It's called fraud.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wish I spoke before because you pretty much stole all the points that I was going to say. I feel like, so my job title is senior, oh, sorry. My job title is senior fire starter. It's a provocative thing. A lot of this feels like being provocative because he's speaking to an audience which are VCs. He's trying to connect with them and say, hey, that stuff that you played, you'll be able to do this. It's a lot more, if I was in this kind of field, a lot, you know, like some of the other organizations that are in this field, then you wouldn't be saying this stuff, but you wouldn't be talking to VCs. So it's a weird kind of like you're talking to a different audience than the audience that is actually there. You're talking to the people who are actually going to give you the money. And I feel like using words like StarCraft and using stuff like that is all really relevant for the VCs who are going to give him the money. And they probably told a lot of the really clever people who have PhDs, hey, I know the stuff that you've done before will get you small amounts of money, but if you go with this, then we'll get the money and you're about to do the stuff that you really want to do. So I feel like there's a bit of that as well. So I think that they are smart. It's just that they recognize that they can, by being part of this Elon joy train, I'll call it, you know, or I'll call it hallucination, then they will get the money to do the things that they can do and much more.
So we have a teeny tiny amount of time left. I want to touch on two topics. One is groupthink, and I'm going to leave religion for the end. And there's at least Katharina, Geraldine, maybe others here have had a lot of experience with either organization consultancy per se, or just all of us have been in groups. I would wish for you to comment on, if you can. This is, you know, I have not prepped you for this, but
thanks for that.
On groupthink and this group, and because this all seemed a bit spontaneous, and they did not really, and some of them have said genuine, normal-ish kind of things. Some of them kind of went out to appease the boss. And I wanted you even maybe to comment on that.
I was, so there's a thought coming to my head spontaneously, as I've not been prepped for this. So,
good.
So, but I come back to something I said before, which is when you have groups and you have certain group dynamics, and especially if you're in a group of people, not only them, but also like in Silicon Valley and whatever, and if you don't ever get any other people's view in, you kind of become very comfortable in your own narratives, and they kind of reinforcing one another. So I might think, I don't know whether you with your with the pigs and whatever coming at the end, you already felt so comfortable with some of us paving the way of saying some, you know.
Because the first person said. We're gonna.
Yeah, again, that's what I'm. It's going to heal
vision,
people.
But
yeah.
then maybe we'll have supervision. Elon egged him on to say, we're gonna have supervision. The next person already said telepathy.
So it's getting more and more crazy. So that's what I was trying to say. So maybe you felt comfortable because I was paving the way for you as the medtech person, saying that we can, you know, help the sick. You felt comfortable not saying anything that, you know, that's still set in the here and now, but going all the way out with especially our, leader, paving the way or pushing the way even further. So narrative and group dynamics, no outside view, and then just getting, you know, spiraling into your vision and your possible future, plausible future that you think about.
So I do a lot of group stuff, really a lot of group stuff, and I sometimes joke, like, let's watch out that we do good group stuff and not accidentally become a cult leader. And I don't think Elon is watching out for that. I think it's the opposite, you know? There's so many moments in that.
Impregnating some of the people he works with.
I mean, that's definitely a part of that.
Okay.
But also just like that little comment, like maybe a little bit of fear, you know? Like those little sidelines where you're just kind of like making sure everybody is on your page and breeding a kind of culture where everybody's hushing up to you and you're setting the tone. So that's obviously really clear in the script. I don't know how much time we have left. I thought I'd take the religion as well, just really quickly, because whilst we were reading today, not maybe in this, I don't know which direction you were thinking, but I was thinking back, the last time I was at South by Southwest was the year before the pandemic, and they had a youth stage, and there was a 19-year-old girl reporting from her work that she had done 2 years prior, so when she was 17, and she had doubled the lifespan of a fruit fly through CRISPR. And she was talking about her work because she'd become inspired to think about how do you cure diseases because of a sick family member, and arrived at the point that you need to fix aging because most of our diseases come from aging. And it was fascinating, and obviously she was inspiring of the work she'd done, but it was also so frightening to hear this 19-year-old girl talk about ending aging through CRISPR, and I'm getting like creepy goosebumps, just the same way that I did reading this script, because of this idea that you've seen a way to kind of fix the world and heal humanity, this idea that we all need to be normed and made the same.
Heal humanity, it's not healthcare, it's we all need this.
And it feels,
we all need to be fixed.
Yeah, in a way, this kind of like, I'm sorry, I don't want to get too philosophical and crazy at the end. This way we've kind of gotten, like in the design world, you know, everything is just straight lines, no more twitches. And now with everybody's using regurgitated ChatGPT answers sounding the same, images get a certain look. Like we're norming our culture, the way we work, the way we output. And I sometimes wonder if this is sort of leading into Elon's vision of singularity and that kind of cultish, religion-esque vision of the tech bro future.
Singularity is there. It's just below the epidermis of the brain.
Just right there.
Last remarks, if you have any. You don't have to.
What to even say? Like, you know, I think it's shocking to me, like reading this. I know we've been talking a lot about like funding these projects and how he is able to get people excited about these sorts of projects. But like reading this script and knowing that this was kind of the foundation for Neuralink and what he was promoting it to be and how he was driving investment into it, and then thinking about the story we saw the other day about how he just raised however many billions of dollars for XAI, when, again, like it's a company that does not have much at the foundation of it other than the fact that AI is a big thing right now and Elon Musk is a name that everybody knows and all the venture capitalists want to keep on their good side. So you can see how he has these ideas that are not fully formed, that maybe have some really kind of harmful and worrying underlying foundations to them, but because he is Elon Musk and because he commands the power that he's been able to build up over the past, couple decades now, that he can basically raise the capital to try to bring any of these things to fruition, regardless of how totally ridiculous.
I've got some information for us on that, on
okay,
where they are
great.
right now. Fernanda, you want to...
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just also like I was also very surprised by this whole kind of text, and I think it was very important to reenact it and kind of try to, I don't know, would be, I think more powerful than actually just watching the video probably. But I think it's really interesting also to I think a very good point you made in the beginning, Uri, was like to think about these contradictions. There are so many contradictions, and then if you look at all the Musk ventures and what he says and how he acts and how, you know, I think another clear example is this open letter to stop, to pause, you know, developments in AI, and then within that period he's developing his own AI business, you know, and I think we should talk more about the contradictions. And I think just one thing, one very basic idea that we should remind ourselves, because the name of this panel is Elon Musk's Utopia, that someone else's utopia is someone else's dystopia. So we just have to remember that.
Thank you. You want to know where are they now? And let's see. No, this one. Yeah.
Where are they now?
So, still at Neuralink are DJ, Joey, and Matthew. All the rest have left. Ian O'Hara left in early 2023. According to LinkedIn, this is all public information. He's now a mechatronics contractor and, quote, "If you think I might be a good fit for you, please contact me." So for all your mechatronic needs, reach out. He also mentions he keeps a close touch and will be will forever be a big believer in Neuralink. Paul Marola in June 2022 left in June 2022, and as of 2023, he is listed as the co-founder of MK1, an AI company. Robin Young, the athlete. So she left Neuralink 6 months after this. She moved to Berlin, and she worked at White Void, a design studio, for a year. Do you know that? She is now, according to LinkedIn again, quantum engineer at AQT Alpine Quantum Technologies, working on quantum computing. So that sounds really cool. Autumn Sorrells left just 2 months ago and now offers consultancy as an animal behavior training solutions specialist. Felix Deku left in 2021 as well. He worked for another company in the BCI sector and currently teaches full-time at the University of Oregon. Max Hodak, who has a keen interest in base science and consciousness, he left in 2021 and is now founder and CEO of a new biotech startup simply called Science. Financials. In July of 2021, Neuralink announced round C of investments, which is $205 million, including Vi Capital, VY, I couldn't figure out who that was. Google Ventures, Peter Thiel, and Sam Altman are all investors. In August of 2023, Neuralink announced Series D funding, Peter Thiel investing another $323 million. Achievements. Through 2020-2021, Neuralink moved from experimenting on pigs to macaque monkeys. And in April 2021, released a shocking video to the world, a monkey playing telepathic Pong. Maybe some of you have seen that. It was revealed that the experiments cause extreme suffering and finally death to most volunteering participants. Neuralink denies the accusations, but did admit that 15 of the 23 macaque monkeys had died in the experiment. In 2023, the FDA cleared Neuralink for human experiments, and Noland Arbo, a quadriplegic, received the first Neuralink implant late January this year. He is doing well and is playing a lot of video games. So good luck with all of that. You can watch this on YouTube. The full text is on the Utopia website. You can obviously find it elsewhere. I'll post a link somewhere. On the re-publica sphere. I did not get your name, sir. Help me out.
Ian.
Ian. Thank you, Ian, Yanai, Katharina, Geraldine, Paris, and Fernanda.
Thank you, Uri.